So I will start so we have more time to hear more about the alliance model. Thank you so much everybody for participating, and thank you so much for Airtico for organizing this event. My name is Bahar. I'm from Traffic Department in City of Copenhagen, and I'm also the coordinator for this European project called SPICE. We are very delighted to have our guest, Mr. Mauri Makiaho, from the Finnish Transport Agency, which after my short presentation, he would be presenting us the alliance model and the experiences they had about the alliance model and also contractual framework. Since we have been a little bit difficulties with the technical issues, I will jump into the objectives of the presentation. Next slide, please. Basically today we will go through to introducing the alliance model as an effective control contract model for delivering different transportation projects. Of course, this is not limited to transportation, but today our focus is on the field of transport and mobility. And also later we will hear about the benefits of the alliance model in comparison to the traditional frameworks in innovative transportation projects, and also how to adapt these models for different types of projects we have. And also in between we will also hear a very interesting presentation from Tampere that will be presented by Mauri. Next. But I'm sure many of you who are joining to this meeting know much better than me what is the alliance model, and also probably some of you have great experiences working with that. But for me, being a technical person in the ITS field, it was very, very difficult and to understand exactly how this model works. But since the complexity of projects goes very high, I think it would be really, really interesting to look at these new possibilities in terms of the procurement. So I would like to have a very brief overview of what is alliance model and how it kind of works and where it seems to be fitting into the field of ITS. Next slide, please. So what is an alliance model? Basically, a project alliance is a commercial or a legal framework which yeah, okay, I think, so basically, yeah, it's a little bit back and forth the slide, but today we will go, what is an alliance, why we would be able to use an alliance model, what is the general principles of alliance, and also where can we use this type of models for various transportation projects, and what are the possibilities from my own perspective that we can actually start implementing alliances into ITS-based projects. So then if I want to just have a brief introduction onto the alliance model is that, next slide please. What is an alliance model? A project alliance is basically a commercial or a legal framework between a department, which we call it like an owner, and also some other private sectors. It could be also some other public sectors, but they are not an owner, which are mainly providing a different type of services. So they create a kind of alliance together. And the reason that this kind of alliances has been shaped is more or less for the projects which are kind of very complex, and also there is a lot of unknown risk associated to these types of projects. And the experiences has been quite vast in the world, but the experiences mostly in the transportation I have tried to find and also focus on are basically very much from the New Zealand, Australia, and also Finland, which has been very much leading into this field. So if you go to the next slide. Basically, why an alliance approach could be a solution for many of our projects in the future is that basically there is a lot more certainty about the budget, because when the size of your project is quite huge and there is some sort of innovation or unknown risks and uncertainties in the design phase, then usually as a public authority we are in a situation that we risk to lose a lot of budget, not in a sense that we will lose the project, but in a sense that there is a lot of unknown factors in the contract that you have not been budgeting for in advance. And when you start developing and when you start bringing innovation, then you actually face a lot of extra budget you have to handle. So that's why basically alliances can very much help in these type of projects to have a certainty on your budget and the cost of the project. It will create a lot of good potential for innovation because you are sharing the responsibilities between the owner and also the service providers, and everyone takes a piece of the cake. So now you give a lot of room for innovation and also reducing the cost and reducing the time of the project. So that's why it's very much helpful for the innovative projects. And also it would help to improve the performance in delivering the infrastructure or the project itself, because all the partners in this setup, they want to reach the goal as fast and as well as possible. So that's why everyone tries to put the best of their service into this. And usually you get a very good product, or normally people experience that they finish in advance, or they can actually save a lot of budget in that sense. The other benefits of alliance, which has been favored around in the literature and also by some practical projects, was that yes, they can see actually they could reduce overhead quite significantly. The streamlined approval goes really fast compared to what we experience in municipalities or public authorities. They can be quite faster and productive. It can provide a better domain for public-private innovation and also partnership and participation, because usually the roles are very much determined in classical frameworks. We are the investors at the public authority and the industries are the suppliers. But in this model, you really don't have those kind of boundaries as such. You try all together to hand give the project and also try to make the best out of it. And also, basically, it can help a lot to achieve a lot of multiple objectives that you may not really have in advance designed and say these are the old, but it could help that you have a lot of parallel deliveries and also be able to shorten the time and also save your budget and reduce your risk in that sense. Next, please. General principles of alliance. Basically, if I want to make it very short, you have to look at the right-hand side picture, which usually the cases we face in daily basis is that we are all sitting in a boat when we start a project, no matter we are a municipality, a public authority, or the industry. We have a journey. We start at some point and we have to finish this together. But since in the classical method, one is investor and one is the supplier, so usually we end up with a situation that we always blame each other that this hole is not in my end. You have to solve it. This is not my problem. This is someone else's problem. But the fact is that the boat is sinking, no matter whose share is, where is the hole and who is responsible for it. If the project is not successful at the end, all of us are losing. And if the project, of course, was successful, we will all lead to the next destination. So this is basically one of the ways to say no to this kind of thinking. The alliances helps you that all the parties win or all the parties lose. There is no one that is the only single winner or the single loser. Basically, all the participants in the alliances, they have a say, they have an equal voice to be heard and to be also listened to. Basically, we try to have a risk and responsibilities to be collectively, and also instead of we are trying always to blame each other that this is the risk on this party, on that party. So basically the risk is on all the parties and there is no one individual to be blamed to. And also we try to have a sort of a equitable share of both risk and also the reward. It's not always about losing, but it's also about winning with a very good setup and opportunity. The next slide. The other good thing is that usually when we are as a public authority investing on a project which is very complex, it's very hard to have the fixed best resources in terms of the personal resources from the suppliers, and vice versa. The supplier has the same issue that they need some technical people from various departments to be involved in the project. But usually since there is not a win-win and also lose situation together, so we face a lot of cases that there's not a priority on the best qualified competences in each party. So in the alliance model, they try to reduce that. Actually, all the parties who are inside the alliance, they try to put their best man and their best capacities so that it would help saving the time and also have a smooth project development path. And also, it kind of tries to create a culture which is trying to drive on the innovation and also trying to really reach the best performance you can get out of it, without blaming each other, and also tries to remove this sort of way of thinking that, okay, this is not my problem, so we keep blaming other parties on a project. And all the transactions economically, also the communications, they are very much transparent, and they have to be open book so everyone knows what is happening. And it's also based on a trust and also open and straight communication. Next slide. But basically, if you want to look at the various types of the procurement and legal frameworks you can use for projects, usually not always you have to go for alliances, neither you have to go for the traditional methods. But as you can see in this graph, as soon as the scale of the risk and complexity in your project start raising, and then also there is a potential for innovation and also flexibility required in your project, then it's better to start thinking about this type of method, because then you are actually sharing your costs and sharing the risk associated with your project. So this would be my last slide for now before we start to hear from Mauri, and then I will at the end also have some comments about where we think we can use alliance models. Thank you so much. I give the floor to Mauri from City of Tampere.
Hi, we can see the slides, Maureen, but we cannot hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you be a little bit louder?
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Is it better now?
Definitely.
Okay, and you can see my slides also?
Yes, we can. Very well.
Oh, okay, very good. I will start then. And thank you for this presentation before me. It was a very good ABC for alliancing. And now I'm telling you about Tampere tunneling project and some expertise what we have learned through this case. I'm from Finnish Transport Agency, and we are taking care of the roads and streets which are state-owned, and also railroads and waterways in Finland. And I'm representing the owner in the big projects which are in the state budget. And this Tampere tunneling project was also one of them. And so I'm working as a project manager in FTA. About this alliancing the tunnel of Rantaväylä, it was a project with Tampere City and Finnish Transport Agency, which we did together. And if you can see this picture, that is the main reason why we started this project, because Tampere City made the city plans, and the old highway number 12 went through the Tampere city centrum nearby the Näsijärvi Lake, and they wanted to make this new housing area for maybe 4,000 people. And that's why we had to find some new location to the main road, and there was no space anywhere else, so that's why it had to be relocated underground partly. In this picture you can see about the project a little bit. We relocate the road in a little bit more than 4 kilometers length, and 2.3 kilometers we relocated in underground in the road tunnel, and in both ends of the tunnels there is also, of course, this interchange area, so we can connect the streets and roads to the main road. And then in the middle of the tunnel there is also one specialty. There is a provision for underground interchange areas. There is also ramps, already ramps, and 2 bridges underground. So if we decide to build this interchange area in the middle of the tunnel later, we don't have to shut down the road tunnel during we are making the construction works. Some technical drawings about it, so you can see we have to dive with the tunnel under the railroad in 3 points, and also there is a Tammerkoski river and dam structures, and we have to go under those structures, and there is tens of thousands of people who are living in the nearby of the working site and above on the tunnel. There is 2 one-way tunnels, and they are one-way in all cases, so we don't mix the traffic in one tube in any cases. Here you can see a little bit better about the solutions. 2 one-way tunnels, 2 lanes for the cars, safety lanes through the whole tunnel, and then there is these interconnecting tunnels between every 150 meters through the whole tunnel. So there is a 15 this kind of interconnecting tunnels. Anyway, this has been planned very long time already, but 2006 it gets started with the road plan, and already 2008 the Tampere city and Finnish Transport Agency made an agreement about the implementation and how we are going to implement this. And after that moment we started to think and analyze what kind of commercial model and what kind of contract model we want to use while implementing this project. And in that time already we were searching systematically some new ways to do it, because we knew that in this project there is lots of risks, technical risks, and so on, and we have learned that with those more traditional way of implementing, we thought that this is not going to be so successful project. And in those times we found this model from Australia, and we were benchmarking it with them, with Jim Ross from Australia, and we also started one pilot project, which was a railroad project, and the results were very good from that project also already. So we decided with Tampere city that we are going to use this kind of contract model also in this project. This was the second alliance project in Finland and also in Europe. And now there is more than 50 alliance projects going on in Finland already, so it has spread quite fast. But during 2012 the plans were completed, and we started the bidding process, and we chose the the contractors and designers who will come to alliance with Finnish Transport Agency and with Tampere City. And during 2012, we made a decision about this, and we started the development phase in 2013. So I mean about this, there is a two phase in alliance. First, we started so-called development phase, and we spent a little bit more than 1 year with the designers and contractors, experts, and only making the project plan and only making designs and planning how we are going to implement this, how we can take care of the risks, how we can minimize them, and if we can find some new ideas and innovations. And in the end of 2013, then we decided that we are going to implement this. So after the results what we had during this development phase, we decided if we are going to implement this or not. So that was the moment if the results are not good, if it seems that we cannot handle the risks or it is going to be too expensive or something like that, that is the moment when we still can shake hands with everybody and try to do something else. But the results after this development phase were good, and every parts from the alliance said that and agreed that we can implement this. And after that we started with the construction works. Why we are using this IPD model? It means integrated project delivery, and the alliance model is one way to do it. But the reason is that, and the whole point, that if there is a complicated project, we want to have the level of common understanding about the projects as high level as possible in the very beginning. And when there is experts from owner side and from the contractor's side and from the designer side, we can find some risks and we can analyze them much more better, and then also we can find out how much is it going to cost if the risk is going to happen, and what is the possibility, is it going to happen, is it 10%, 20%, 50% or something else. Also this alliance model is a contract model. It's a contract, and commercial model works so that it doesn't prevent making any changes or innovation during this project. And in this model, everybody have to look out what is the best for the whole project. So it's not enough if you take care of only your own thing. If you are doing design, if you only care about your designs, and if you are construction bridges or something like that, if you take care only on your own side, it's not enough. But you have to look what is best for the whole project, and that is the way how you can increase your fee. And if the service providers are able to increase their fee, usually in the same time the owner will save money. And during this development phase, we also made we decided how we are going to share if we go under this target cost, or what happens if we go over the target cost, what happened if we can implement this in the schedule or ahead of the schedule, and so on. So this picture, what you can see, was the bonus sanction systems in the project. This is the typical way in the more traditional way of contracting. There is some clients risks, and then there is also some risks for the service providers, and more or less we are selling and buying them when we are having the bidding process and when we are making the contract. But in Alliance there is no separate risks and no separate obligations, so the client is responsible for the risks only when the service providers cannot affect by them. But mainly everything else, they are technical risks, and if the Alliance can affect for them by designing, by studying, by how they are making the construction works, then the risks is shared in the Alliance. During this development phase, we also set the target cost. Of course, we have budget in the state budget. There was a limit for 185 million euros for this project. And in the beginning of the development phase, we studied, we knew that the cost will be somewhere nearby 185 millions. But of course we have calculated it during the street plans and so on. But of course we weren't so sure, is it realistic or what? And we started to update the target cost, and we have a lots of doing. We made some studies, we continue with the designs, and make the cost comparison in several phases during this development phase. And during this time we also try to manage with the risks and make analysis about them and make pricing for the risks, and also we try to get some ideas and innovations. During this development phase we got more than 70 ideas, and about 20 of them became innovations, and it means about 20 million savings. This is what happened during this process. When we started this pricing process, we found out that maybe the realistic price will be 220 million euros if we don't do anything for the risks, if we cannot find any innovations and so on. And in the June 2013 we found out that we were able to decide that the target cost will be 180 million euros. There is about 20 million euros from the risks and 20 million euros from the innovations. And that was the moment of decisions. Are we going to implement this project or not? And everybody felt that this is now enough, and we can be pleased with it, and then we made the contract about the implementation with the same parties, of course. During the work, we used several kind of lean methods. One is this self-management with last planner. This is very effective way. Then these pictures are from the big room. In the very beginning of the development phase, we hired a new office space, so all the parties in Alliance we gathered in the same project office, and we started to work together in there. That was very good way to do designing and planning. These ideas and innovations, we had a systematic process during the whole project, so we can get new ideas, and we made some promises about it. We told everybody who are working among the project that anyone can give an idea, and he doesn't have to know if it's good or bad idea. Somebody else will study it. So if you give an idea, you don't have to study it, if it's good or not. Somebody else will take care of it. And we gave prizes for people to giving ideas, and then we studied and searched them, and could decide very quickly if there is a potential or not. It's important that this system is working well, and that it is a systematic way to do it. Same goes to risk management. We have a large group analyzing and finding the risks, and that was also a very systematic way to do. And inside the target cost there was only 3,600,000 euros for risks, and it was enough. Then during the planning and construction works, we try to find out how we can optimize our resources, and what is the most effective way to implement this. You can say that this is the minimum requirements. We have to do 2 tunnel types, and from the minimum requirements from the tunneling directive, you have to put 1 interconnecting tunnel in the between of the tunnel. And now, when we didn't have to try to minimize the cubic meters, what we have to drill and blast from the rock, we started to think that maybe we can do much more underground spaces so that we can improve the productivity. So we decided to make extra tunnels, so we didn't start to drill and blast from the end of the tunnels, but from the 3 points we went underground and started to drill and blast for 8 different directions, and then we made lots of these interconnecting tunnels, because after this solution the logistic and the safety in the building side was much more better. And now when we have made too many of these in the interconnecting tunnels, for example, there were 15 of them, we started to think that we can start to design and build so-called modules, which is 150 meters length H letter form. And all the technical systems and so on were designed so that in every interconnecting tunnel there is a technical spaces which is serving this area from the tunnel, and then we could start to repeat this module, and every time when we finished one we could make the next one much more quicker and much more better way. Also, another tunnel we decided to make it a little bit too wide, so then we could raise some cables and technical systems inside this technical corridor, which you can see on the left side. This technical corridor goes through the whole tunnel, and usually we are setting these cables and lots of technique inside the road structures, but in this way we could make the road structures in the same time when we were making the technical systems. So different kind of works didn't prevent some other work. That was the idea. That is only one idea what we had, and about this modular building, how we did it went approximately like this. We drilled and blasted those underground spaces in one point, but in the second point we also were able to do some sealing, reinforcement works. Somewhere else we could already start to make road and inner structures, and in the same time when we were drilling and blasting some parts of the tunnel, we also started to make the technical systems. Where in the alliance there are people from Tampere city, experts from Tampere city, from the fire department also, then experts from the road authorities. We worked closely with the police and the traffic operators, and also those resources which will start to maintenance and service the roads and the tunnel after it has been taken into use. When we started to prepare the traffic input, we started to work with this kind of group over 1 year before it was planned to put the traffic inside. Usually what has been the trouble and the problems in these kind of tunnels, that technical systems will not finish on the schedule. There are some problems with them, and also the final comments and permits from authorities are usually late because of those problems. And we started to work with this kind of activation group very early phases, and with this group we try to find what kind of risks there will be, and if there is some big troubles that what we have to start to solve early enough so that it doesn't prevent the traffic, putting the traffic inside the tunnel. It was monitoring the plans and schedules and notice if there is some new barriers. It shares information openly, and also one job was to ensure that all parties have resources enough and know-how what they have to do when the traffic is inside the tunnel. So we had to train lots of resources, fire department, tunnel administrator, and service and maintenance operators. We made plans how we are going to train them, and then started to work with these plans. We had lots of exercises with the police and the fire department about different kind of cases and scenarios. And also this, what comes to bureaucracy, we have to have some security documents, statements, manuals and service, maintenance, documentation and approvals before we can put the traffic inside the tunnel. And when the day came and we decided when we are putting the traffic inside, we made minute by minute timetable about what is going to happen then. Before the traffic taking the tunnel in use, we also felt that this was a new traffic element in Tampere city, so we had to think that how we can tell the people what is going to happen, what kind of environment is this, and how we can share the information, what you should know when you are driving inside the road tunnel. We started with this kind of test group. The local media helped us. They invited a group of people in this kind of test group, and we started to have meetings with them, and we told about the tunnel, and we expected that they will tell about this information for their friends. They are talking about this in their works, and so that the information will spread ahead. And also they were the first group who could test the tunnel already when it was not in use. Then we had some happenings, some competition with bicycles. There was a running competition, and also one day when the tunnel was open for everybody. I think 40,000 people came to look how the tunnel will see, and they were walking through the tunnel during one day, and that is how they came familiar about this kind of environment. And this didn't cost nothing to us, because the local media and sponsors took part of the costs about these happenings. Then we have to spread all kind of ways, information how you should drive in the tunnel, what kind of connections is what you can use after the traffic input, and how to navigate somewhere, because many people's normal roads changed after when we put traffic inside this tunnel. In the end of the last year, we put traffic inside, and these are the local media news about it. Everything went very smoothly. There was no problems. Also, the operator's point of view, everything went very smoothly. There was nothing technical problems at all. And but when we thought a lot about this, that when the tunnel is going to be used. So every people who normally use buses and so on, they decided to come to work with them own cars, and there was a 30% more of cars in Tampere city centre during the day than never before. And afternoon rush hour, there was a lot of traffic jams in the streets and roads. So opening the tunnel of Rantaväylä, it doesn't solve every problems, even it was completed 6 months ahead of the schedule and under the target cost. But I will say that because of using this alliance model, it was possible to make it so that we didn't have to minimize the quality, we didn't have to let anything out of the project, and the quality and the safety was in very high level all the time, and also we could make it in the budget and ahead of the schedule. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are some questions related to your presentations. Would you be able to answer? So there are 2 questions. Now it's 3. So the first question comes from Lasa Stander, and he's legal advisor to North Denmark region. So his question is, how did you choose the contractors for this project? Even you have this alliance models, how did you choose your partners? And how did you use economic criteria on contract value, or did you compete on size or shared target price? So that's the first from Lasa, yes.
Okay, so during the bidding process, we were evaluating the quality issues, and their weight was 75%. And the 25% of the weight was the economical valuation. And we didn't ask any offer what is going to be the cost of the project. But we told that our valuation is that the direct costs without any fee will be maybe 150 million euros. And how much fee do you want to have? And the service providers fee offer was that what was inside the valuation, and the weight was 25% of the whole valuation. And this was this method about bidding. It was a negotiation process, and we have 4 different groups who give the proposals.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of questions now. So the next question come from Sami Sahara from Helsinki Innovation Agency, and his question is, are those 50 ongoing alliance model cases all about infra projects or infrastructure projects, or they are also for service procurement or hardware development? It's just a general question, if you know.
Okay. There is an infrastructure process, but power plant, schools, hospital, maintaining service, different kind of projects, and the smallest projects are somewhere nearby the 10 million euros, and this project was 180 million euros. Tampere City Tram project is also nearby 200 million euros, and also this hospital project and power plant project, they are more expensive, but I don't remember the prices. But you can use it in different kind of projects, and in the end of the last year I was also visiting in one bank.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions. Sorry, we are already 3 o'clock, so if any attendees wants to leave, you can just leave and you can send your question later, but we can continue for a few more minutes. There's one question, it's very tricky, said that, are we able to legalize use the alliance model when running procurement, which are not subject to the EU procurement directive? I don't know if you're able to answer this question, or we can, I also unmute Lasa, maybe he can answer that. Just so are we able to use this alliance model as is complying with the EU procurement directive? I think that is a tricky question. Maybe we don't have the answer. So there's questions also. Is this a EU tender? Maria, are you still there? I cannot hear you anymore. There's something wrong in the sound systems. But anyway, because we are running a little bit late, so I don't know, Baha, are you still there?
Yes, yes, I am still here.
Okay, would you mind to just say a few words to close it then? Okay, I show the screen now. And there are a lot of questions, so if anyone wants to have questions, you can just send an email to me, and then we will be able to try to answer, or we try to find an answer. All right, okay, so I show my own screen now. So you can see there are a lot of questions, and then we have Baha to close this.
Yes.
I don't know what happened. I dropped out, but do you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we hear you.
Yes, yes. So there are few questions, but if we don't have answer now, it's okay. Maybe we could continue the discussions through our LinkedIn groups or through our website. Or through emails. We can maybe continue to have the discussions. It's a very interesting discussions. It's either this aligned models is compliant with the EU direct procurement directives or not, or which circumstances it can be applied or not. So this is the question. Sorry, Maury, we have to close down very soon, so I give the floor to Baha, have a few words very quickly to close this webinar. And thank you for your excellent presentation.
Yes, I would like also to say that it was very, very interesting to hear the procedure and the hard work you did. So, but the result is really astonishing when you look at the budget and look at the size and complication of your project. So it was really, really impressive, and thank you so much for presenting all this constructive work, which is really, I think, inspiring by itself, even if it's not an alliance, but how you have handled all these procedures. Where we can actually, the whole idea of SPICE looking at different values and different legal frameworks for procurement was ending up to look at different models, which one of them was alliances. The reason alliance model was very interesting to me was that, as you have heard in quite some different slides from Mauri, is that risk is a very huge factor when you have a complex project, when you have a lot of budget to invest, and then there is a high expectations either politically, organizational-wise, budget-wise. So you have to try to find another way to mitigate this risk. And usually when we start different ITS projects, we are facing similar cases. By ITS projects, I can call, for instance, traffic management systems, changing your network infrastructure, buying a new Internet of Things, IoT, which is very fancy right now. So all these are huge investments. And that means that since the future is also changing so fast, so we are facing soon automated vehicles, we are facing soon semi-automated vehicles. So these are all the unknown factors that your system has to be adaptive to them in the future. And that's why we have to start thinking differently. I'm personally involved in 2 huge ITS development projects, and what we're facing is that there is, no matter how good your suppliers are and how good your technical people are defining the requirements, there is a lot of unknown factors coming into which could affect your cost and could affect your investment. So this is an sort of a inevitable part of any of these development projects. Besides, as you have seen in Mauri's presentations, there is a lot of places that if you start thinking innovative, you can actually try to reduce the risk and also save the money or time and try to produce a better product than the original plan you had. But if you want in a traditional framework, be innovative, usually you face the situation that you have to pay the cost as the owner of the project. It's not like a shared win-win and a shared lose, because innovation is also costly, innovation is also risky. But if you are succeeded, then probably you can have a huge step in your project. And also the complexity and also diversity of the personal capacities. A lot of times the project idea in ITS is brilliant, but when we start running the project, we face a lot of difficulties in having the best personnel involved in the project. But in the alliances, since everyone thinks that if we succeed, we have a huge win, and if we lose together, then everyone tries to bring the best players into the game. And that is one of the things that I would like to really myself focus on, that how in ITS actually we can reduce our risks and also the cost by having a new setup like alliance model. And of course, saving the time and being fast in development, this is another aspect in all the ITS projects you face, that it has to be done in next 2 years, 3 years, and so on. So this is something that I would like to just mention at the end, that I think we, the examples you saw in sort of like the nutshell, it was very much infrastructure oriented, but if you focus on each part of it, there is a lot of information, communication, a lot of ITS platforms also involved, which was very much successfully implemented in city of Tampere. So that was the sort of the closing part of it. But as Jan Ying said, we are very delighted to receive so many interesting questions and interesting debates, which would be very, very much interesting to continue on those debates in our LinkedIn group or in our website, which the addresses are at the end. We are really much welcoming you and hope to look and keep in touch with you in our LinkedIn and also website. I would like to thank you all, and sorry for a few technical complications, which is, I hope it would not even be remembered now after hearing to such interesting presentations by Mauri, and thank you so much for your attendance.
Okay, so I see everybody still stay, and that's really appreciate. And there are a few questions we're not able to answer right now. I will pass the questions to the SPICE project consortium, and if we find the answers, then we will contact you. And thank you all very much. And a webinar has been recorded, and I will send all attendees the record and the presentation as well. And thank you for your time, and particularly big thanks to our guest presenter, Mauri, and thanks to Bahar for the moderation. And thank you. Now I close this webinar, and I hope you enjoy rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.